Welcome to Manny's Irish Pub. This is the Predictive PlayBook afternoon show on Tuesday, June the 8th, 2021. The Predictive PlayBook is powered by SportsMemo and Wager Talk. And I have two new faces starting off the show with me, but don't worry, Tony Finn and Rob Vino will be joining later. They just needed a break, I guess, from the host that does this every single day. That's the rumor. But welcome to the show, Tony Mejia and Adam Trigger. We're going to kick this thing off right away with what was supposed to appear on the NBA Wager Talk show. And it was, I own up to it, it was my fault. I thought the file got sent. It didn't. And these things happen. So this gives me an opportunity to provide it here on our show. And that angle is going to just wait 1 second here because I actually have that angle. Apologize. All right, so Adam, why don't you give a little bit of a breakdown of the Sixers game, and I'll pull up the correct angle of the day here, and then we'll come back to it.
Sounds good. Sorry.
Okay.
That's all right.
For
a second, but I'm back. I'm good to go. So, yeah, so before we got on air, I think I was just saying how, I don't have action in this game, Sixers Hawks. And yesterday I talked about sort of liking the Hawks as a team, which I don't know that I made a case for them at all, but I just said in general, I like this Hawks team. And, the more I've sort of had time to think about it, what I've come up with is this. So I think the Sixers are probably the right side tonight. The number feels inflated to me. So what I mean by that is I think the books are just going to force you to pay a premium to play the Sixers here. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the wrong play. I mean, it very well could mean it's the right side and they win by 1 million. But for me, the reason I'm not playing this game is because 6 is just too high. It's just where I have Atlanta rated, and sort of me not wanting to go against Trae Young here because I know what he's capable of keeps me off of this game. But I don't think I could play this game any other way than to back the Sixers. So I'll let John get into this because I think he's got a better way to sort of frame this than me. But if you could hop on the Sixers in game at a better price than 6, let's say the first quarter starts and Atlanta comes out a little hot. It actually reminds me of game 2 of Atlanta's last series. Again, we were just talking about this off air, but Atlanta had a pretty big halftime lead on the Knicks in game 2, and they ended up getting beat pretty handily. So if you could see a quick start from the Hawks here, and all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're looking at the 76ers in game, and it's like maybe -3 or less, that's probably how I would try to bet the Sixers in this game. The money line's too expensive, so I wouldn't really do anything with it. That pre-flop and the 6 is a little too much. But if I could find an in-game spot where Philly was -2 or the money line got cheap enough, depending on sort of when that spot popped up, I would probably take something on Philly to win. I just have a hard time seeing Atlanta winning both games in Philly here.
John's napping.
Oh, no, I think he's back.
Oh, he can't hear, he can't speak?
I think he was
just to keep it going, because I'll back you up on this.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like the 6 points, not at all. And I'll tell you why, because we saw how Philadelphia cut into Atlanta's lead over the final minutes of game 1. I think Atlanta is capable of doing the same to Philadelphia because of Hackeben. And Ben Simmons, to me, still looks lost at the free throw line, still coming up short like Giannis last night. And the fact that we have a team that's so proficient from 3-point range with Trae Young and Bogdanovich, and it actually hurts him with DeAndre Hunter's gun. I think I'd be, better off if Hunter was there as opposed to Solomon Hill or Tony Snell. That really scares me in laying 6 points with Philadelphia. So from that standpoint, I'm in agreement that if you like Philly from the standpoint of I don't see them going down 0-2 at home, they are a very good home team. They do have some wrinkles that they can throw at the Hawks in terms of pressure. And if Joel Embiid is cleared to play, which I think is the first variable that I'm waiting on, because I've already touched Clippers, Jazz. I haven't touched Suns. I haven't touched Sixers, Hawks yet. It's once we see Embiid is cleared, you would expect that the first 5 possessions, 4 will go to Embiid in the post to try to get Capella out of there, because the Hawks defense obviously changes if he's not available to protect the rim and make Embiid work for everything he gets. And then, if he's not, if you do draw 2 quick fouls on him, then I do think you pull the trigger on Philadelphia, because that makes it easier for Ben Simmons to get downhill, attack the rim, Tobias Harris to do the same. Right now, I think I won big on the Seth Curry prop in game 1. Yeah. I think I'm going to go back to it in game 2. He's the only one out there that seems to be hunting shots in the 76ers starting lineup. And he's found a home there to the point where you see him playing 30-plus minutes.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. And like I said, I came on yesterday and pretty much said, I'm not betting against the Hawks. I don't want to bet against this Hawks team, because I've really liked, they've been one of the NBA teams that I've been sort of high on all year. I guess I maybe a little bit ahead of the curve. I don't play a ton of regular season NBA, but I found myself on the Hawks a few times. I was on them a number of times in the series with the Knicks. So they're just, I like this team, and it's, I don't want to lay the 6 against them, but if it got to a point where I could get a good in-game price for the Sixers and it was close to a pick, and I felt like the ebb and flow of the game was going to sort of tilt in their favor, I might jump in play on the Sixers, but I'll probably, that's just really my thought process here. I'm probably going to end up sitting this one out. I don't know that I'll have much of anything here.
What do you make of the series price, which is now, I think, 140 or 130? Philadelphia's favor?
Yeah, I said yesterday that and I think it was even lower than that yesterday, actually. I think it's moved up a little bit. I want to say Rob Vino looked at one point yesterday. I think he saw like minus 125 on the series price. And we both we all kind of agreed. If you like the Sixers to win this series, like, you have to bet that, basically. Like, that's just a bet you have to make. Right. Because there are two, just from a numbers perspective, they're minus 250 in this game. And that, if they win this game, they're going to be in a pretty commanding spot in the series. Now, for me, like, again, I think the Hawks can hang around. As far from a series perspective, I think Atlanta can make this a series. I don't think this is going to be a scenario where they win game 1 and then just get dusted in 4 straight games. I actually think the Hawks can make this a series. I just don't know that they can go back to Atlanta with a 2-0 win. Will I be surprised if they win tonight? Not really, because, again, Trae Young is he's a superstar at this point, and the NBA is really a league. I feel like it's become, how far your star player will take you in most instances, outside of a couple of scenarios where you end up with a really good, team. But Trae Young is legit, and if he was unfazed at Madison Square Garden, I definitely think he can sort of, be the spark that carries them in the series. But I don't like the Sixers enough to make that series bet. But if you did like the Sixers, another way to get action on this game, if you don't want to lay the 6, or if you don't want to wait for an in-play spot, would absolutely just put something on the Sixers to win the series, because if they win this game, you're going to have like options basically after that happens.
Yeah, nobody's been able to throw Trae Young off his rhythm, And I mean, the entire postseason, his floater game is ridiculous right now. He's got such confidence in that shot, and he's pulling up from 30 like he's Seth Curry in terms of back when he was at Oklahoma. I haven't really seen him do that in the league since early his rookie year when he was discouraged from doing that. It's just like, hey, you're not Steph Curry yet. Let's tone it down and get other people involved. So from that standpoint, I wouldn't mess with Atlanta. I do think that the DeAndre Hunter injury hurts them because you saw Solomon Hill did hit a couple of threes, I think, in game one, but I'd rather have Solomon Hill shoot that shot than anybody else on that roster. And obviously, if Hunter's there, that makes them a far more potent offense. We'll see what happens with them defensively tonight against a Philly offense that I think did get the shots that they wanted. They did get Embiid the ball where he wanted it. Yeah. And Ben Simmons came out with a far more resolute approach in the second half. To start it, to get downhill and to find a way to pressure that defense to where Capella can't protect the rim. So that to me is the key, is getting Capella in foul trouble. I do see this series ending up 1-1, but there's no way I'm laying 6. So I'm definitely in agreement. If you can find an in-game line that's in the 3.5 range, that's the way to go.
Can you guys hear me?
John's back.
We can. Yeah, he's back.
All right, man. I think I missed quite a bit, so we got the technology figured out. We've been having some severe thunderstorms, and I was on a show, and I actually swear I felt the zap on my Bluetooth headphones, so it must have been pretty close, or I was imagining it. But now we're good to go, so that's what matters. So I tell you guys like the Sixers to win, but the 6 is a little steep.
Right. And then as far as the total goes, I mean, do we think that this ends up being higher scoring? I mean, obviously not as high scoring as game one, but the other big surprise to me was how ineffective Danny Green was in defending Trae Young. I mean, Young basically picked on him. So will that change with Matisse Thybulle getting more minutes early and Danny sitting the bench potentially? And then obviously that makes the Sixers less potent offensively because Danny Green is a much better shooter than Thybulle. That's a potential wrinkle. But pace-wise, I think because we've talked about Trae Young being unflappable at this point, I think it's over or nothing.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Tony. I really would. And let's see if I have to slide here now.
I was going to say, I think the market probably agrees with that too, because I think this has moved at least 2 points since it opened. Some places. I think I still see some 224s out there, but it's as high as 225 at some books, and it opened what it looks like 223. So it's definitely, at least it's being bet that way, but that's also not uncommon with an over. But that I would probably agree with you, Tony.
So here's the betting angle of the day that Tony Mejia should have seen on the NBA Wager Talk show today, had it not been for my error in where I sent it. But nevertheless, this supports the Sixers to bounce back, and it's a pretty good one. You bet on home favorites in the playoffs. The home favorite lost at home as a favorite in their last game, and the home favorite in that situation alone is 57% winner, 32-24 the last 10 seasons. And if the opponent is coming off back-to-back road wins as a dog, which the Hawks are, they won on the road against the Knicks, they won on the road at Philly in game one. Then we go to something pretty exciting, 9-0 with one push. The last 10 seasons, it doesn't happen very often, but the parameters have a very high JR value, as Tony Finn likes me not to say P value, but technically that's what I'm talking about, is the P value. So this is one of the better ones, but I have to admit that I am reluctant to lay 6. And
the thing that's missing from this, John, is and the point guard is not a very good free throw shooter and will be sent to the free throw line because you can't have him off the court late in games. I think that's the variable.
No question. I will say this to counter it, and I've had some good luck with Mr. Simmons and triple doubles And triple doubles is Tony Finn, who's in the backstage area with Don Buster, who's going to be coming up shortly, had said that, Tony Finn wants a triple double for Simmons to include free throws. And I said, well, that would be a quad. And he says, fine, include the free throws, 10 or more. There has been 18 games that he's made 10 or more in his career. And he's number 11 in triple doubles on the all-time list. Oddly enough, the market has this triple double for Ben Simmons priced at the lowest it's ever been in his career at plus 425 at DraftKings. And, I like, we all know I like Simmons, and I think 2 years from now, hopefully for his sake, we'll have a different story in terms of the free throw shooting, like we saw examples with Magic Johnson and, da-da-da-da-da. So, I want to believe that this is the night that the Sixers put it all together, like they did in Game 5 against the Wizards, and just dominate. And lo and behold, Simmons had a triple-double in that game, which I tweeted. So do you guys agree with me that this is, the market is telling us to consider a triple-double with Simmons? And, we're not talking about free throws. It's rebounds, assists, points.
I mean, if the pace is there, which it should be, it's definitely not a bad bet. I mean, I think to me it's a situation where he's got to turn it up, but I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. You trust him a lot more than me, and he's certainly shown in the past he's capable, he's worthy of that trust because he's a hell of a player. It's just a matter of confidence and getting into a rhythm, and he's the point guard of the team, so he's got to get all those other guys involved. So it is interesting. I'm going to let Adam respond, and then I think Adam's also got a Yankee angle before he's got to go.
Yeah, I'm going to bring on Tony Finn and Don Buster now. Well, there'll be 5 of us, which will be fine. Don's going to give us a NHL review after we get through the Yankee stuff, and then we can revisit with Tony Finn the Ben Simmons and the Sixers matchup and also the late game. So welcome to the show, Tony Finn and Don Buster.
I just want my tequila. That's all I want, Don.
I
I thought you said you wanted mezcal.
Okay, you're right. I do. I would rather have the expensive stuff, but I didn't want to say anything until you said something.
What's up, guys?
Hey guys.
What makes you think
Anthony.
that Don? What makes you think that Don Buster drinks tequila?
Because I've sat down and had a drink with him before.
Oh.
He'll drink anything. If it's free, he'll drink it.
I thought it was because of where he lived.
Well, yeah, he was on his way. He was on his way to Mexico. He's via Canada.
He's getting out of Connecticut. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
A few years ago, I stopped by to see Mr. Finn when we were in Vegas for a week, and we had a few beverages watching a Thursday night football game, and had a very good time.
Out on the patio, watched Don. Hey, listen, he's a lot tougher. There's a lot more energy than because it must have been like it was 4:30 in the morning. That's somewhere early like that, and I had to be up in a half. I had to be up in a half hour. I said, Don, I think I need to go to bed.
Yeah, it was early, and but it was good. But you come on, Tony. Yeah. Everybody that knows you don't sleep in football season.
I don't. You're right.
Football season, you don't sleep. What do you get? 2 hours tops in football season? So
I think that's probably. That's 3 or 4 hours is about. If I get 3 or 4 hours, if I get more than that, it's an issue for me. I become I'm more tired than I would be getting less sleep. So just me. Yeah. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, guys.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys. John, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
I know it's been a long time
Anytime.
coming, and I'm going to try to hop in once a week here.
Yep, he's going to be on Tuesdays, and then we do a one-on-one show every Thursday, and that's in stone. So it's all good things. But Adam has to take off. I think he has dinner plans with someone tonight. So we're going to hit the Yankees game, which is by far the most intriguing game in my interest, selfishly said. But the Yankees, we talked about them yesterday. They're one of the worst hitting teams in the majors, if not the worst hitting team, by any measure you want to look at. And Jordan Montgomery's on the hill tonight, 3-1, 3.92 ERA at Target Field against those Minnesota Twins, 11 games under 500, 12-17 at home, going against former Yankee Michael Pineda, 3-3 with a 3.40 ERA And the betting line now has gone from, I think it was minus 125 Yankees to even. Is this the time to bet the Yankees? Plain and simple question. We'll start with Adam.
Well, yeah, the short answer to that is yes. And it's a 4-unit play for me. I'm taking Yankees minus 105. I have a bunch of reasons why. And, I'll just give you a quick breakdown. So we talked about this yesterday. I mean, first of all, I'm a buy low guy as it is. I mean, I look for spots like this, and normally it hasn't really paid off this year so far, but normally it does. I just think that, if you were to not know their record and you were to listen to how this Yankees team is getting talked about right now, you'd think they were like 10, 15 games under 500. I mean, they're still 31-29. So they're still playing above 500 ball, which if it was most other teams, it would be considered pretty respectable. So I think there's this perception that the Yankees are so bad because of where they should be, right? They were minus 250 preseason to win the AL East. So they've definitely underachieved. We had a long discussion on this show yesterday about just a couple of metrics that were almost like outliers. Now, there's no disputing, like, this Yankees team is not really built to hit for average, and they haven't hit for average this year at all. I think they're batting 228 as a team entering today. The stat that we talked about yesterday was base runs, which is one of the sabermetric categories, and the Yankees are far and away the worst team in the. Sorry. Oh,
it's okay.
Am I back? Yeah, I gotta fix that. They're far and away the worst team in the league in this category, the base runs category. So, what that metric is basically, defined just very high level as number of runs a team should have scored, and so what that tells me is they're getting guys on base, they're not hitting with runners in scoring position, which there is something to that, but there's also an element of luck, in my opinion, when you're just consistently not cashing in these opportunities. And I just don't think it's going to continue forever for this Yankees team. And that's really what we talked about yesterday. As far as this matchup is concerned, if you had to pick like the best starter on this team, at least right now, is probably Jordan Montgomery. I mean, he's got a 1.12 whip. His ERA is 3.92. He's a lefty. He's got good stuff, and the Twins haven't really seen him at all. So, I know that his road numbers are what they are, but he's only made 5 starts on the road this year, and 4 of those starts were against teams in the division that have seen him a ton. You also have a bunch of guys potentially out, well, either out or potentially out for the Twins. I mean, I don't know if I haven't went back and looked at the lineups, but I haven't seen if Cruz is in there. But to be honest with you, the Twins are banged up enough, and they haven't really been good all season. So, I know Pineda's got good numbers, but Pineda was terrible last time out, and I'm wondering if it's really like the first time he's been really bad all year. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a carryover there. And he was obviously a Yankee for years, so they're probably going to have a better idea of what Pineda's going to come with, more so than more other pitchers that they would, a pitcher they haven't seen. So Pineda, they haven't seen him, but they at least have the luxury of, having had them on their team for 4 years, so they might have an advantage there. The only other time Pineda faced the Yankees was in 2019. He got hit pretty hard at the stadium. So, for me right here, this price is just too good to pass up, in my opinion. I think the rock bottom sort of spot for the Yankees was after Sunday night, losing in extra innings and getting swept by the Red Sox. In my opinion, this team can only go up, and some of those underlying metrics tell me that they're going to start cashing in some of these scoring opportunities. I also think their batting average is going to increase. I don't think this team's going to hit in the 220s all year. It probably won't be much better, but I think there's a little potential positive regression there. And finally, the bullpen did not pitch well against the Red Sox, but the Yankees still have an elite bullpen, in my opinion. This is still like a top, we'll call it top 10 bullpen, and probably top 5 bullpen in the league. And Minnesota does not have a good bullpen at all. So I think even if Montgomery and Pineda, even if you consider them equal, I still think the Yankees are going to have a pretty big advantage in the later innings of this game. I want to say at one point in time, the Twins had blown more leads after the 7th inning than any other team in baseball. I don't know if that's still the case, but they've definitely blown their share of games. The Yankees have owned the Twins over the years. It seems like they just have Minnesota's number. I don't have statistics for that, but obviously we all know the Yankees run against them in the playoffs. So I think getting out of New York and getting on the road here, just a change of scenery is going to work well for the Yankees. A new series, and I love this spot for the Yankees to turn it around, get a win, and probably start what will end up being a pretty good run for them.
Sounds awesome, Adam. Who wants to add their 2 cents to this matchup? Tony Finn, you look quite eager.
No, I do.
Oh, you had your hand up, I think.
I think that was okay.
Oh.
I'll just give you a quick. Let me give you a quick. I wouldn't argue with the broad, or at least the end game here, and that is that the Yankees are a decent price, and the matchup is favorable. I mean, Pineda is pitching above his skill set. Last year he topped out 92 miles an hour with his 4-seamer. He's back to where he was the year before in 1990, 91, right around there. The problem is he's benefited this year from a 216 BA BIP. He has a 10.7% K rate. His ERA isn't even close to his FIP, which is in the high 4s, 4.88, and he's the guy that's going to blow up. He's going to implode from time to time. And Adam's right. I mean, listen, the Minnesota bullpen isn't that good. New York's bullpen hasn't performed as good as they should have. They're better, at least from what we've seen in the past. So that said, Montgomery, he's always going to be a 4th or 5th starter, in my opinion. But he's a balanced guy. He doesn't have any elite pitch. He doesn't have that that wipeout pitch. But he threw a season high 99 pitches. It beat Tampa Bay 4-3 last start. Permitted 3 runs, I think 1 earned over about 6 1/3 innings. And the thing about Montgomery is that his skill set's solid. He's got a 25% K rate, 6% base on ball rate, and he does a great job of getting ahead of hitters. He has his F strike is 69%, and that's what he has to do. That way he can mix in his 4 pitches because again he has no out pitch. I like the Yankees at this price. Pineda against Montgomery. I'm all in with him on this. Absolutely.
Tony, I was hearing your voice in my sleep last night when you said don't mess with people in Major League. Don't back starters in their Major League debut, and the Kendall Royals did not make it out of the first inning. So good call. It ruined my under.
I thought about you. I thought about the show too when I saw the score on that. I said it was early, and I said, well, you know what? That's the beautiful thing about making a debut. Especially if you're a first-round pick out of Florida, you're probably going to get another chance.
Yeah, and it's too bad because Bundy actually pitched pretty good, and that one inning pretty much single-handedly ruined that bet for me because everything else sort of went to plan.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll add my 2 cents here. I think what we're seeing is an anomaly of a unit of offensive batters that are just simply underperforming all at the same time, and it's a very rare situation, statistically speaking. If you look at their walk rate percentage, it's high. Hard hit percentage, high. They're not getting the hit when they need it with men on base. And that can be misconstrued as choking, putting too much pressure on yourself when you're trying to make a free throw from the free throw line in the 4th quarter like Ben Simmons. It could be a list of things, but it truly, you look at it, if it wasn't for Guerrero and Ohtani, you could be talking about Aaron Judge right now as the AL MVP, right? You guys would agree with that, I think.
Yes.
So it's not like a collection of high-paid misfits batting 200 and striking out 15% higher than they did last year or their 5-year average of the previous 5 years. It just seems to be one of those situations where they're the fire hydrant instead of the dog, but they're the fire hydrant every single day. And I think one of these days, I tend to agree with what Adam's saying. There's going to be a stretch of like 20 games where they could easily go that 17-3, 15-5 run, and you're going to be getting them cheap. Whether it starts tonight, I don't know, but at minus 125, I probably would have bet them tonight. But now that it's even, it scares the crap out of me.
Yeah,
what am I missing?
That move does scare. That move scares me a little bit too. But I wonder. I didn't really see any reason to not take a shot with the Yankees here, and I generally don't like to bet against moves like that, but I just wonder if after the Red Sox series the market's given up on them a little bit. I don't know, but I know that
it sure seems it.
I know that I just feel like I feel like we're going to see this team break out at some point, and it's June 8th. It's still really early in the Major League Baseball season. I think because of last year's 60-game season, maybe we're collectively forgetting that a little bit. But I mean, there was a couple of years ago, the Dodgers were probably as highly touted as the Yankees heading into the season, and I want to say they played barely 500 ball for the first maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the season. And right around this time of year, they ripped off just an obnoxious run that lasted probably 2 months and put them way out in front in the NL East, and they went the NL West, and they went into cruise control the rest of the way. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen here, but I just think that the Yankees are bound to start playing better ball, and if you can get them at minus 105 against, let's look at who they're playing. They're getting them at minus 105. The Twins haven't been able to get out of their own way for a good portion of the season. Isn't really
games under 500. They're a bad team, and the Yankees are considered their equal in a road game, which is a team that doesn't get any attendance.
I do this thing with games where I especially with series starting, where before I look at the pitching matchup, I look at what I would project the odds to be, as in what's the line. I had New York minus 130 even after getting swept by Boston. So this surprises me. No Garver, no Buxton, no Arias, no Kepler. And if Nelson Cruz is ruled out, then I'd probably join aboard. The Twins have done a nice job hitting lefties this season. I think they're top half of the league. But again, with all those guys gone, they're baked into those numbers. So from that standpoint, I would trust Montgomery. And hope not to run into a Big Mike revenge game.
Yeah, and the only other thought I had here, so there has been a pretty big move to the over in this one. I think it's moved a full run. So, if you I guess another way you could look at it. I prefer the Yankee side here, but I do think they're going to hit Pineda. And if the Twins get anything off Montgomery, there's probably some runs in this game too. I'm going to stick with my bet on the Yankees minus 105, but that's a pretty big move to the over right there, which kind of makes sense in my opinion.
What triggered, I'll tell you guys, I think you'll appreciate this. What triggered my research was an article, I believe it was either the New York Times or the LA Times. And if you're interested to read it, I'll send it over to you. But it was talking about the crappy hitting by the Yankees and their need now to address trade ideas. And you mentioned one of them, Nelson Cruz. And I thought to myself, well, where the heck is he going to be put in the lineup, and who's going to be on the bench? You got a $250 million payroll. You're through 60 games, which is about 40% of the season, and you're not even averaging $1 million per run, let alone $1 million per win, which would be the Moneyball equivalent. And I just started digging into it. That's not the solution. Nelson Cruz or any other not free agent, but trade to enhance their offense is not going to change things. And
I think they're waiting on Luke Voigt to come back and hope for that.
Yeah.
Hope for the best.
Yeah. So I thought the article was a little, it was interesting, but it was a little there's plenty of other teams that'll go after Nelson Cruz if he's put on the block. The same thing with Max Scherzer. I would think is going to be coming up on the block too. So we're getting to that time now where the trade ideas start cropping up. But
I've been in my NBA and soccer bubble. When did Kluber go down? Is that serious or?
You know what? That's. Do you know Tony?
Do I know what?
Corey Kluber's thing is something that is going to linger, or is it just a rest issue?
I don't know. You know what? I have not checked on that, but
it's a shoulder. It's a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
He went on the I think he went on the DL with a shoulder, like a start maybe after he pitched the no-hitter. So, yeah, he left the. So it was May 25th. He left the start early. He only lasted 3 innings, and they're just basically saying it's general. It's a shoulder strain, but they're not really. They're pretty much calling it like general shoulder soreness. It looks like to me. So, I don't. It doesn't look like it's like. It wasn't like a big blowout injury that they're going to probably put like a timetable on, but that's just what I read quickly here. It looks like a shoulder, and he'll probably, they're probably just kind of taking it day to day with him at this point.
He looked like he'd locked in even before the no-no, and if they're going to make a run back into this thing, I think it's more pitching than hitting, even though the hitting has been so inconsistent and terrible and all or nothing.
Well, because you'd like to think that these guys might all heat up around the same time too. I mean, it's not like John was saying. I mean, this isn't just like a lineup full of scrubs. I mean, there are big time players in this Yankee lineup. Like, you'd like to think that they individually they'd figure it out, and if none of them are hitting right now, it could very well just be contagious, and they might all get hot right around the same time. So that's like kind of I know that that's like something that's hard to quantify, but that's really another reason that I think the Yankees will, as long as the price allows it, will be a play on for me going forward. And let's be honest, like, usually as soon as the Yankees start playing good, everyone's going to want to bet them. The prices are not going to be favorable because it's the Yankees. So I feel like I got to jump in here -105 and hope that their start of their run is tonight.
It's always tough from what I hear to stand outside in Kansas and know that there's a tornado coming, and it's similar to trying to bet the Yankees because if you bet the Yankees tonight and they win, you're gonna feel I'm a pretty smart guy, and then if you bet the Yankees and they lose 9-1, you're gonna think what in the world was I thinking? So I'm kind of in the camp to wait and see how this game goes. I mean, the over seems to be like the lean, but we've kind of beat this dead horse to the ground, and probably time to move on to NHL hockey.
If you want, John, I could actually mention a bit about that Yankee game, but it seems like I don't want to come on. No, I don't want to come on here and go against everybody the very first show I do. So I'll just keep it to myself and just kind of say, not too trusting of Montgomery. And also, when the team is playing bad, we all know this, especially in Major League Baseball, those streaks, you see them all the time. 7-game losing, 8-game losing. Like these streaks, they just kind of whatever happens, like somebody said, I think Adam was saying, it does get contagious. There's no doubt about that. And I do agree with all you guys. The Yankees are too good, and they will have that run, and there's no doubt about that. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, guys, I got to hop off.
All right, Adam. Have a good night, buddy.
Good luck to everyone.
See you, Adam.
Take care.
To answer Wyatt Chapman's question, I'm on Keith Pompey, who covers Sixers for the Philly Inquirer. Nothing on his feed yet. I would imagine he's going to go.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't been in touch. I've been doing shows all afternoon, so I haven't seen any reports. I haven't been able to even check. So I'm glad you looked that up, Tony. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And as long as that line stays static at 6, I think you have to presume he's going. And
if he's not going, if he's not going to go, we'll know it as soon as you see that line. As soon as that goes to a 4.
4.
4.
Maybe 3.5.
I haven't done anything with the game yet. I think I definitely have to put in my and it'll be my best bet, so I might as well just say it. My Seth Curry points prop should.
Nice. I have over
Yep.
2.5 3-pointers on him tonight.
Yeah,
Tony,
he's
so
really locked in with that first unit.
Yeah.
And then I'm also, and I've got to leave around 5:15ish because I got to start watching these World Cup qualifiers. So researching Venezuela's potential starting lineup against Europe.
Do you have your pain pills? Do you have your aspirin with you?
What's that?
What does he need that for?
I'm sorry, no dose.
Tonight is no, I don't need no dose. It's soccer, man. It's great. Colombia, Argentina.
Fantastic.
I'm as a fan tonight. No touch on Colombia, Argentina, but hopefully Colombia shows up.
Well, what's the number? What is the handicap on that?
It's in Barranquilla, so it would be Argentina's favor. They're plus 145 at Westgate. Colombia is plus 215. So
Okay.
That would be a nice sport.
I'll take the draw. I'll take the draw. I'll get 200 on the draw. Then
it could be a good draw spot. Absolutely.
So let's move on to the hockey, which is also exciting. We have the Montreal Canadiens, which are on an unbelievable streak. And, I guess like when red comes up 7 times in a row in a roulette, everybody at the table thinks it's going to go on and on and on forever.
I know.
Certainly Montreal looks like a team that could... they only have 8 games more to win, which is unlikely, of course, but they are playing at a high level. But tonight at 6:30 on NBC Sports Network, we have the Lightning against the Hurricanes. Tampa Bay looks to close out the Hurricanes on their home ice. Tampa Bay leads 3-1, and the line right now is Tampa Bay minus 125, and the over/under is 5.5. We also have the Golden Knights.
That's the game.
Yep, 9 o'clock. That's the second game, also on NBC Sportsnet, and against the Avalanche, and that is definitely the best matchup we have current right now. That's at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Colorado's a minus 145 favorite, as I see it. Over/under is 5.5. So you don't have to do either or both, Buster. But I know you love hockey, and you definitely are an expert at it. So I'll give it to you, and you can pick either game to start with.
Okay, well, we'll go with the first one, the Tampa Bay Carolina game. I'll tell you right now, guys, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The head coach, Brendan Maher, he hasn't really let anybody know who his starting goaltender is, and it's only a few hours away. Now, that was when I first came on the show. He might have by now, but I'm going to look to see that Nedeljkovic will probably play tonight. He's a rookie. He's played really well at home. And after Mrazek having that game, allowing 6 goals the other night, I really think that he might be the guy that starts. And they're missing 2 of their better players in Niedermayer and Trocheck. They are both game-time decisions. I really believe Niedermayer plays. And the reason why I think Brendan Maher is holding all this out is because they want to have those fans going crazy. And in NHL hockey, it's right now that all the teams in the United States, you can have a full house of fans, and that's a big edge. And you'll see that edge tonight for Carolina. Now, Tampa Bay, they're up 3-1. Carolina's been fantastic at home. Unfortunately for Carolina, they've lost both their games, the first 2 games, 2-1 to Tampa Bay in this series. They had only lost 3 games in regulation all year at home. I'm going to look for Carolina to bounce back here and force a game 6. I really like them tonight. I'm betting. I've already bet them full game, getting plus 105. I believe they're minus 105 now. They were plus 105 for the first period, which I like a lot because I believe they're going to come out and Tampa Bay is going to have to sit back and take that first punch, as they say, and with the home team. And as long as Carolina doesn't get on any power play, Tampa Bay doesn't get on power plays because the Tampa Bay power play has been unbelievable and actually has been the reason why Tampa Bay has probably took a little grasp of this series. And it's kind of funny because Carolina had one of the best power plays and best penalty kills in the NHL this year, although Tampa Bay was right there with them. But I find it strange how Tampa Bay is actually winning that special teams. And between special teams and goaltending and a home crowd, that's what you need to win NHL playoff games. So I'm going with Carolina here and Carolina in the first period.
Like it. I like it a lot. That would make the series a little bit more interesting for sure.
Yeah, get it down to 3-2, and you never know. Tampa Bay, I do the Puck Time show every on Tuesdays, and as I was saying, I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be like those chokers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and go up 3-1, then lose 3 games. But you never know. Yeah, you never know when you get to a 6th game, a goaltender stands on his head, and next thing you know, you're in Game 7. So I actually have a futures on Carolina, so I have a more of a vested interest in this. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm going to try to get my money back a little bit today because I think Carolina's in a perfect spot, and I actually believe you're going to see the best game out of this whole series out of Carolina tonight.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Don. And for the viewers in the chat room, this guy is hitting 83% in the NBA playoffs right now. I humbly say he's probably the only guy hotter than me, but 19-4. He's a perfect 100%. 10-0 in the NBA total releases, 65%, last 78 in NHL total releases. So you want to make sure you are tailing this guy over at sportsmemo.com. It doesn't. Do you have anything special going tonight?
I just have a triple play package up with there is an NBA. I have an NBA play in that triple play package on the Utah game. So I put a package, something for everybody: an NBA play, an NHL play, and a Major League Baseball play. So have that up over there. And like you say, John, and like I said, I put the the shushbis because I've been on fire in the NBA. I'm like a lot of us. We get streaky, and I'm very streaky. I'm a very streaky guy, and I had a fantastic, unbelievable April. Had not the best of May, but not totally as bad as my good April was. And I'm having a great June to start. I had Patrick Cantley. Whether I got lucky or not, it doesn't really matter. My bank doesn't know that I won at 22-1. They don't care, right? They don't care. John Rahm, decided to make as I like to call it, and I think me and Tony have talked about these things about moments in time where you make that decision, which is going to change your life. Well, John Rahm had a moment in time, and he made the wrong choice, and it cost him 1.7 million. So again, I don't feel bad about it. I'm more than happy at 22-1 and take that money. And people say, "Oh, well, you didn't really win." Oh yeah, I did win. My money says I won, so it's all good with me.
Hey, all we need to do is reference the Kentucky Derby, and if you had that,
exactly,
you were a winner. Except that it didn't go back and change after the horse was disqualified. But that's a different sport.
Exactly.
And it's once it is over and the tickets are final, it's impossible for a racetrack to say that they're going to change the winners, and you have to all come back and give your money back if you want. I mean, that's not going to happen.
No.
But 22-1 is a nice hit, man. I love Catley too, and I think he'll be one of the guys to watch at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and me and you, John, when I talked to you last week, I was saying how I put out some long shots that I put out like all one, always over at least 30-1. I put out 4 guys, and I had that Taylor Gooch, which he ended up not doing all that well. But this week where they're playing, there's going to be. It's on a course where they haven't played, and there's only a few guys that actually know the course, and not all the big guys are going to be there. And you got to maybe just Johnson and Koepka are going to be big favorites. So I think there's going to be a long shot winner. I hope I can pick them out, but that's kind of tough when you're only taking four guys, right? But we'll see what happens. But looking forward, as we said, to Torrey Pines as well. Really looking forward to these 2 games tonight too. They're going to be if any fan of NHL hockey, it's going to be fantastic. That Vegas, Colorado, also both games excellent. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. We'll have to talk golf sometime. You'll have to come on Wednesdays when the guys love it when we talk PGA Tour. I'm telling you, they're on the edge of their seats.
Well, you know what? It's a sport where guys can relate, right? It's sports when guys can actually can have been to the course. Like I've been to Augusta. I've walked Augusta National. Of course, you don't play it, but I mean, so you can kind of relate a little bit. Like you were saying, you played a couple of those PGA courses. Hey, John,
Sawgrass.
So, I mean, like you've played courses, so it's a little bit more relatable to the average Joe when you're watching PGA or if you're a big golf fan. So, anyways, yeah.
I mean, our partners here, Tony and Tony, know shot by shot of my rounds at Kiowa. Yep, they know every single shot I made, what the wind direction was, how hard it was, and how bad or good the shot was.
And that looked like it was a really tough course.
Oh, it's amazingly tough. What happened in that tournament, I'll say it real quick, happens in real life, because the one day, 17, the last 5 holes were traditionally prevailing wind is into the wind. And it's into a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and that's about what it averages on any given day. So they actually played the tournament in below-average wind conditions, and then Sunday it reversed, and the last 5 holes were downwind. But when it's 30 miles an hour, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an advantage, because that kind of wind off the ocean can knock balls down, and usually when it gets knocked down, it ends up in a hazard. So
Or when you're with it, all of a sudden you think, it should be a good 8, and next thing you know, you're driving it over the green because you should have used the 9 or something.
Right.
So.
And that was 17 with Phil. He had an error to the left, and he had to hit it. That was the error. I mean, that was the proper shot at the time, given his situation.
Yeah. So, anyways, don't want to bore these other 2 guys with the golf. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
John Daly. I'll take John Daly in 34 strokes. Give me John Daly in 34 strokes.
You just want to go drink with John Daly. That's all. Tony.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah, I mean, there he is.
Don't we all?
There he is.
Yeah.
Santa. Who's Santa?
Still sitting in the same pose as he was the last time I showed him to you. But anyway, Bus, you're welcome to stay on and hang out with us. I wanted to catch Tony Mejia here with the remaining time that he has, which is about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Right. We have Wyatt Chapman, who's one of our loyal followers. Can we ask Mr. Mejia who he likes on tonight's NBA playoffs, specifically if you have any leads on a side?
I mean, I don't like, we covered this earlier, I don't like laying points with Philadelphia because I fear the Hackabend down the stretch combined with the Hawks' ability to shoot from the perimeter and really score points in bunches. So from that standpoint, I'm staying well away from that. I still need to take a look at whether Embiid plays. If he does, I do. It can go both ways, because if Embiid plays, he draws more fouls than anybody else, and so that'll affect the total. And if Embiid doesn't play, then you expect Philadelphia to go small ball. So from that standpoint, again, let me go back to the Seth Curry. I think he ends up with over 14.5 points. And Jazz Clippers, that's my best bet for the night. But I think that it's going to be one of those interesting feeling out process games where you don't have Mike Conley if you're the Jazz. You haven't played since June 2nd. But at the same time, Donovan Mitchell takes his game to another level at home. And the Clippers really don't have anybody that can guard him. It's a completely different animal than Luka Doncic, to where you can't put Kawhi on him for stretches. Paul George will probably get some time on him. Patrick Beverley will probably be in the mix again after really proving that he couldn't handle Doncic. I think Mitchell's a better matchup for him. We definitely get to see more of DeMarcus Cousins in this series, because they couldn't play him against Dallas because of matchups, but they will play him against the Jazz. So if you like the player prop angle, you can probably get some low prices considering he hasn't played, and you should see time here, even behind Zubac against Rudy Gobert, who they want to get out of there and match up with. So a different series for the Clippers than the one that they just got out of. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond. They haven't seen each other since February, I think it's 17th and 18th, something like that. And they played on January 1st, and you got to throw that game out because you can't you can't take anything away from New Year's Day NBA games. Everybody's been partying the night before. So from that standpoint, it's a matchup that you have to look at with fresh eyes. Line wise, surprised me a little bit to see the 3, even with Conley. Although it was 3.5 even this morning before the Conley news came out, and then it had already been bet down to 3, and I didn't see much line fluctuation when Conley was officially ruled out. So I thought we'd see Jazz -4, Jazz -5, and we talked about this on the NBA tip-off show. I think it's just a matter of respect for Kawhi Leonard. We've seen him do it before, and we haven't seen Utah before. And Utah continuously disrespected as the top team in the Eastern and the top team in the entire NBA this season from a record standpoint.
Yeah, I love it.
So
I'll just add a couple of my 2 cents in there about the number and everything. To me, again, I'm a little bit like I like NBA. It's always a situational thing for me. And now the Clippers come off Game 7. Got to get on a plane. Got to play, in Utah. I know the Conley's not there, but I always love that step when the guy is out, and you see it all the time. It doesn't matter what sport you're watching. When that guy's out, everyone around steps it up. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game tonight. I also, Tony, have my best bet on this game. But again, just a guy being out doesn't, especially in the NBA, where there's a lot of guys, a lot of talent. These guys are used to this, and I think the other guys, when that happens, they just step it up, just like in any sport when a guy goes down.
Don, what do you think about the home court in this series, considering the Clippers continuously don't have a home court advantage because of the restrictions at Staples, but yet they go out to Dallas, they win 3 games, and it was crazy in Dallas, and it figures to be crazy in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah. And, well, there's no doubt the Clippers are one of those clubs that, because when you have superstars like George and Leonard, when they get on the road, that stuff that maybe not mean as much. But it'll be interesting to see as the series progresses, getting into later in this series, if that altitude has anything to do with it. I'm not too sure because these guys are all used to it. They're in great shape. But late in games, you know how that happens, or a late overtime game in Utah, that may give Utah the advantage. So there's no doubt this is going to be an excellent series. But and as you said, Tony, Utah's not getting much respect at all. But I think it has lots to do with a guy named Kawhi Leonard, who brought a championship to Toronto, probably almost single-handedly.
Yep.
Great stuff, guys.
All right, guys.
I'm
going to dip out. I wish you a good show and great bets tonight. And
love the Jags shirt.
See you guys tomorrow. Yeah, this is for you, Tony Finn. Blake Bortles jersey, your favorite quarterback.
Yeah. I trade you Mahomes for Bortles right now.
The jersey or the player?
The card. Pop Warner. Right, Pop Warner card. Good luck tonight, man.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
No problem.
Good luck.
Good night.
Good luck, Tony.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.
And then there were 3.
Yes.
But there's now 4. Rob Vino makes it in.
What's up, fellas?
Did you get your shot?
This guy is just, I mean, Tony Finn and Joe, Rob Vino are 2 of the most loyal guys I've ever met in my life. I mean, every day I don't have to worry about, I have to send a Slack. Can you guys make it? They're always there. So I know Rob was just finishing up the Wager Talk College Football show, which will be aired, I think, later tonight. Right, Rob?
Joe's got some post-production. It's really just a snippet, guys. It was a Heisman Trophy
Hey, thanks for inviting me to that, by the way.
Dude, I had to get invited. I got no pull around this place. They tell me to show up, I show up.
You don't have any pull?
End of story.
Who has the pull, then?
You. Who the hell you think? You.
I got a pull, all right, but it had to reach farther and farther because it keeps getting shorter and shorter every day.
Well,
the older I get.
Who hears from Lawrence every night? You. Who hears from Johnny every night?
I don't anymore. Lawrence is we don't work together like we used to. So yeah, it used to be every day. So I'm certain that he probably raises his glass and says, "Damn, I didn't have to talk to Finn today." Cheers.
He's found a new guy to complain to, Teddy.
No, Teddy's listened to Prez for as long as me. The 3 of us, when we were on covers, we did some radio together back then, and Teddy still hasn't forgiven me for beating him on that college basketball show that we had.
It takes time.
Well,
sometimes it takes time.
10 years. It's been 10. Well, maybe not. It's 10 years.
I mean, that's a pretty long marriage. I mean, you just have to back away and let them chill for a while, and don't play golf every day.
Just fight back with Teddy. You'll be fine.
That covers, Tony. That goes way back, long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when we started that. When I did a Wise Guy. We had a Wise Guy app on there that I took care of, but that was prior. That was post right after Covers had decided to comply with the DOJ. Covers made most of their money on sheets, and then when the DOJ started cracking down on that, if you remember, they fined Sporting News about $4 or $5 million for taking sheets all those years, and then people got kind of fun. Then they took away bookmakers.com. So when the DOJ decided they wanted their cut, they knew this was coming too, where we're at today. With the environment we're living in today. So that said, Covers they didn't make most of their money from picks. They made most of their money from sheets. So those days are gone. And since then, they've moved out of Nova Scotia. Right? They're over on the islands and across the pond. Right?
I think are they in Mauritius? Like I know a lot of these guys. Mm-hmm. I know a couple of guys in Mauritius there, but I'm not sure. I thought they still had something going on in Nova Scotia. There was a girl that did football out of Kingston, Ontario, in Ontario, and I just know her because one of my best friends. It was his niece, so she would do like the sit down and be the host for their Covers football with whoever their main guys are there. So I think they still have some kind of pull in Canada. But if I remember, Tony, didn't most of these guys way back then, and maybe still to this day, they were getting the percentages from because they weren't really bookmakers by any means, but they would set up people with. Yeah, so if you use promo code 543 Covers.
They would get back then. It was sheets. It was sheets. So basically, they would if they put you in a book, Don. Yeah. And let's hypothetically say you deposited $1 million and you lost all $1 million of it. Well, Covers got 35% of the losses.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's you can make a lot of money that way on percentage like that. If you
I know somebody. Up. Listen, I have a friend who put one guy in a sheet in a book. Okay. Yeah. And a couple of years later, he built himself a new house, and he called it the such and such estate. And I used to laugh all the time, and people would say, "Why do you call it the such and such estate?" I said, "Well, because such and such paid for my house."
Yeah. And I bet you that guy, your friend, he probably wasn't much of a gambler. He was just a guy that could.
Oh, he's a gambler. Not only is he a gambler, he's degenerate as they come.
Well, when you're making that kind of percentage, sometimes if he's degenerate.
I know, but he likes money. He likes money more than he likes gambling. So that's where his strength lies.
Yeah. It's Tuesday degenerate, right?
Degenerate
Tuesday. Which one is it?
I already made my degenerate bet. How about you?
I'm probably about to. I'm just waiting to hear what you would recommend I do.
I bet my wife would be late coming home from work today because I think this is the day she meets her boyfriend. So I'm sure I'm going to win that bet.
Come on, Tony. I met your wife. She's a salt of the earthers. I don't see that happening. She has to be with you, right, Tony?
Well, they will have a statue of her at some point in time after I die. But you know what they say.
Yeah.
As soon as you think you know something,
you don't.
Kawhi Leonard comes along, shows you different.
I like the saying, "I outkicked the coverage."
Yeah.
Right? That's about the nicest thing you could say about your girlfriend or a woman or your wife or
that you
outkicked the coverage. Yep. In other words, I'm like way over my head.
Oh.
And not necessarily drowning in water either. I mean, over my head could mean that you're overwhelmed in a negative way. Now, this is good. But
I've been married 27 years, guys. 27 years, so it's pretty. I'm just happy to be here. It's a good day when I wake up.
You've been doing shows with Rob Vino longer than that.
27 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Haven't you?
because that was my that was before that was my prior life before I was reincarnated as a bloodhound. I'm really a bloodhound.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see the resemblance.
Sniff out those winners.
mean, look at that
hey, by
nose.
the way, I was thinking about the theme song for your show. I've got I put together a Nantucket rhyme. I think will fit this show perfectly, but I'm not going to repeat it right now. I'm not even going to. I haven't edited it yet.
All right.
I got to come up with some more creative limericks. Is it a limerick? What are those Nantuckets? What do they call those? Limericks? Is that a limerick? There once was a man from Nantucket who,
I don't know. That's poetry. I don't know what that.
Well, this one,
I don't know.
There once was a guest
Oh, I know. No,
of Manny's pub.
No, you can't do that. You can't. We have to
can't I?
disqualify that. I know exactly where you're going with this. I've heard it.
do
I
you?
have it memorized.
Oh, you do?
And on a
really,
Friday,
because I thought of it sitting on the pot. I'm really worried about you if you've got it memorized and all, and you already have it all.
It's like the yogiisms. There was that woman that sang before the game was over. This is a guy that was that once.
You mean the girl who was scratching the wrong parts and
No,
Yogi
she was
turned around and
singing.
ran?
She was singing due to the score of the game, and then that's I don't know the rest of it, but
I
the
got that.
Nantucket thing is there once was a gentleman from Nantucket, and then it goes on.
That's a
from
limerick.
there.
It's a limerick, right?
I believe it is a limerick. I think that's.
Thank you, Don. I'd like to
There
know
you
what it
go.
is.
It's
I don't
definitely
know.
I really don't know,
Definitely
but it
prose.
sounds like that's right. It sounds makes
Sounds
sense
good
to me.
then. All you have to do is say, Tony, you're right, and you're
Yeah.
on my Christmas list.
Yeah.
So I did want to have one little thing here before we go to our final round of final thoughts and best bets.
Okay. Listen,
Where was the first? Was the first
can
World?
you get
Where
my
was the
dog
first
and
World Series
muzzle
played?
that guy?
Huh?
Can you get my dog and muzzle him?
Oh, so that's your dog that's making all that noise.
I don't know whose dog
Oh,
it
you
is, but I
hear
like
him?
dogs.
Oh my! I didn't know you could hear him. That's my dog. That's my lad.
Oh, yeah.
We can hear everything.
I apologize, but he wants to get to the window, and we usually go to the window at 5:30, and he wants to go.
What window?
Okay.
The betting window, Parks
I know
Casino.
that window. What shop?
That I don't know.
You go there every day, but you don't know what shop.
No,
it
he
is.
said
Let's
Park
go.
Casino.
I did say
Oh,
Parks Casino.
Oh, I've never been there. Yeah.
Well, it's PARX.
That's where the racetrack is too in Philadelphia. That's in Philly, right?
Yep.
Pretty sure I was there a long time ago. I went because I went and did a little tour when I was about 20. I went to Suffolk Downs in Boston, and they were just
Yep.
and
Philly
went over to Parks, and
Is
I'm
the
an
Han-
Orioles
is the Han-
fan, so went to at that time Camden Yards wasn't even around. It was
Is the handle still good in
Stadium,
Philly?
so-
And
Is the what?
Philly used to have a decent handle. It used to be a track that handled decent horses because they
That's
still
Philadelphia
had a
Park.
handle, huh?
That's what Buster's talking about. It's Philadelphia
Yeah.
Park.
Right. I mean,
And then
they
there's
still they still have a good handle?
I don't know, but that's not my phone.
No, that's
I
my
should-
phone.
Oh,
We
that's
got a
okay.
dog. We got a phone. What's next? Hold on.
My wife's looking at me going, I thought you were done in 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's been about an hour, and I just said,
Yeah.
see you later. You know?
I get the same thing. Just next time that happens, just pretend to answer and say, "Oh, Mr. President, I have to call you back."
Yeah. Oh, if I could have grabbed the phone, I would have. What happens down here? It's so windy off the Gulf right now. Like it's just been one of those days that's really windy. So I have to close everything up, or everything you would hear wind. It's pretty windy today, so I've got things closed up. And needless to say, when it's 100 degrees in Mexico, it gets to be a little hot. So you see every once in a while, when you go to one of the guys, I'm here like rubbing my brow because it's pretty hot in here. So.
It's only 92 here today. It's cold.
It was warmer here in Philly, I think.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you think? What was the temperature today? I know yesterday was like 94, 95.
I got a flash flood going on outside my window, so
Oh,
Raining? It's raining?
wow.
the emergency
you
alert
left your
service
sprinkler
keeps
on.
going off on the phone, so it's dark here right now.
I miss storms. That's the one thing I miss. We don't have any. It never rains. I already told you about that. Last year during monsoon season, it didn't rain.
You guys actually got snow, though, Tony, this year.
When? No,
You
we
got snow this year. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I'm only 45 minutes from snow skiing if I want to. It's a 45-minute drive.
That's true. Yeah, you're
right up Mount Charleston. So,
yeah, that's true.
And we go up every once in a while in the summers. It's late summer. I think it's been a few summers, but we would take a drive. We'll have a couple shots, and we'll say, you know what, let's head up and go watch the. In August, we have a lot of meteor. We get a nice meteor show, but you have to get out of the city. And all the lights, So we take that drive up there. And the first time we made the drive, of course, still in short sleeves, got up there, was up there about 5 minutes. And I said, listen, we're going back because it's too damn cold up here. So 45 minutes, 20 degrees temperature change, that's pretty drastic. But it does snow. Listen, in Charleston, we get a lot of snow. And I can wake up as of the end of May or even June. Right now, there's still quite a bit of snow up there, and we're already reaching 100, 105. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do that. If you like snow. Me,
I don't know, Rob.
115.
I'm still thinking about Joe D'Amico saying that it was 85 degrees in his pool, and mine's 77 degrees now, and it's too hot.
Yeah, listen, Joe D'Amico's right though. The people here in Vegas, they want my wife wants it to be almost 90. It's too warm for me. I like the 80s, see? But almost everybody here.
That's like a hot tub.
Yeah, it is. It's a bath, pretty much.
Yeah.
But when it's 115 and you get in water that's 90, there's still some form of refreshment there. Yeah.
Here's what I realized the other day when I was swimming. It suddenly hit me because you guys might realize I'm pretty good with numbers. So you said 105 degrees and 90-degree water, right? That's a differential of 15 degrees. Oh, 115?
Yeah.
And what's the temperature of the pool? 95?
Well, it'd be 90. It'd be about 90 degrees.
Okay, so 25 degrees.
Yeah.
And yesterday, rounding it off, we were 95 degrees, and my water was 77, which is 18 degrees, if my math is correct.
I still think
my water felt refreshing.
Yeah. There's a body temperature. I mean, listen, that doesn't. If it's 25 degrees outside and you jump in a water that's 10 degrees, I still think it's gonna be friggin' cold, John. In fact, if you jump in water that's 10 degrees and you drowned, then that's a story all in itself.
Well, I hate to tell you, Tony, you can't jump in water that's 10 degrees.
Well, I think that's
you can jump in salt water. You can jump in salt water though that's about 28 degrees.
I think that's what I meant by it's a story all in itself. If you jump in the water, it's 10
a
degrees
movie about that situation, which is dreadful. But
Oh, I'll
tell you the truth. When we get, and this is the advantage of being a host. And Steve Merrill noted this today on the show that he and I did on Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, there's words now that he wanted me to say to you, Tony, and new terms for the financial. And I said, there's no way in this world I'm ever going to say and tempt Tony with these new financial terms. But let me finish the Steve Merrill thing.
Yeah.
And he said that, on a show when you're hosting and you have Rob Vino on and you get him to laugh, and it's a genuine laugh, you've actually said something pretty funny.
It's happened twice.
Which is it's double the rate of any other show.
I think I've made Vino laugh a couple times.
Joe Ranieri. And you're right, Tony Finn, just the other day. The other day. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I told the show, I told everybody that I was a full-fledged, card-carrying lesbian once, and I think he laughed at that.
Well, maybe it's 3 then, because I laughed at your background the other day.
Right.
That was as good as Joe Ranieri.
Somebody asked me if I liked the game once, and I told them that I said, listen, I saw who was pitching in that game, and it reminded me of this girl who was scratching in the wrong places, and I ran as fast as I could. And he laughed at that too.
I feel like me and Ski do laugh at a lot of your stuff on the table.
Yeah, listen.
I can't
have
help
to bring
myself.
something. I got to bring something to the table.
Right?
I must laugh at just about
Certainly isn't
anything.
winners.
So I wanted to have like a little like history lesson to educate and promote Major League Baseball.
Oh,
And
boy.
if you know the history of a sport, then you are a true athlete and true student of the game and true student of the sports betting sector.
Okay.
So
I'm
where was
interested
the
now.
when and where did the first World Series take place? And then I have the whole. You're gonna love this background. I mean, this is. Thank God there was not social media in this year.
Well,
So where was it
you wanna
and what
know-
year?
You want to know what the first World Series was, or do you want to know when Major League Baseball started?
When Major League Baseball started.
1872.
Nope.
1872.
I wouldn't. I would think it was in the late 1800s, maybe 1892, 93.
Well,
Mr.
54,
Vino?
152 years ago from today, from this year, it was the Cincinnati Red Stockings played.
Red Stockings, yeah.
They played
All
a
right,
amateur
so
team,
that would make it 1869.
and I think it was 72 when Major League
If you're
Baseball. I
right.
could be wrong, but
But that called a World Series? I don't think so.
No, it wasn't the World Series. It was the first. It was the first baseball game.
Right.
Um,
That is right. Yep.
You
and
misinterpreted.
the Stockings won like 57-2. But they also had, it was 9 balls. You could throw 9 balls before the guy was walked. They threw
Right.
underhanded, and when you went to the plate, you guys, the batter would say, "Listen, the strike zone." The batter called the strike zone. Strike zone was either the waist to the shoulders or the waist to the ankles, to the knees. That you called, you would tell the umpire, and you couldn't change it. If that's what your strike zone, you couldn't change it during your at bat.
And what did
And
the
the umpires
catcher
didn't
not
call
wear?
strikes. The umpires did not call strikes. They were not allowed to call strikes.
They
What
shouldn't
did
be
they-
allowed to call them now, really.
Yeah.
It's been
And
brutal.
what did the catcher not have as equipment? Back
A
then?
mitt. He had no mitt.
No, a
He had no
mask.
mitt.
He had
He had no mask,
mask.
no mitt, and no mitt. No mitt.
That's a tough guy.
When first started baseball, you could catch the ball, or a fly ball, on one bounce and catch it, and you were out. Why? They didn't have any gloves.
Suppose it was a guy from Yale who invented the mask so he could get closer to the plate to catch his good pitcher. That's what I'm
Yeah.
told.
Well, I mean, I know a few things
So-
about it.
So what was the
the-
answer, John?
The first.
Well, you talk-
the
the
answer is
first-
1903.
1892 to 1900 was the monopoly years, and then the first World Series would have been shortly after that. What year was it?
1903.
There you go.
And this is courtesy of Wikipedia, and I took notation, but I want to give them credit. So it reads like a story, but it's not very long. The 1903 World Series was the first modern World Series to be played in Major League Baseball. It matched the American League AL champion Boston against the National League champion Pittsburgh in a
Right.
best-of-9 series, with Boston prevailing in 5-3, winning the last 4 in consecutive fashion. The first 3 games were played in Boston, the next 4 in Allegheny, home of the Pirates, and the 8th and last game was in Boston. Pittsburgh pitcher Sam Lever injured his shoulder while trap shooting. So his teammate Deacon Phillip pitched 5 complete games. Phillip won 3 of his games, but it was not enough to overcome the club from the new American League. Boston pitchers Bill Dineen and some guy named Cy Young led Boston to victory. In Game 1,
Dead ball era.
Phillip struck out 10 Boston batters. The next day, Dineen bettered that mark, striking out 11 Pittsburgh batters in Game 2. Some guy named Onus Wagner, bothered by injuries and load management issues, I didn't say that, batted only 6 for 27, 222, which is worse than Ben Simmons' free throw average. In this series, it committed 6 errors. 6 errors!
The fix was in.
I mean, what makes his card so valuable then if he committed 6 errors in the World Series? I mean, the guy's a bum.
Well,
So anyway-
Cy Young. Listen, Cy Young pitched in the dead ball era. You understand? Dead ball era. Why was it a dead ball era? Do you know?
Because most of the players are dead now?
Well, I like that. But that's not right.
I'm
Why is it
assuming,
that?
I'm assuming what the ball was made of.
Well, it was made of horsehide, but here was the deal: the balls were so expensive. It cost in the equivalent. It cost $3 a piece back then, which is the equivalent of $100 a piece now. And they only played with one ball the whole game. In fact, they hired people to go into the stands, and if the foul ball went into the stands, the security came and got the ball and took it from you and put it back into play. And by the 6th inning, the ball wasn't even around, and the pitcher could do almost anything he wanted to with that ball. He could make that ball do a belly dance while it was coming to home plate. And the dead ball era, hence Cy Young being able to throw, 18,000 pitches in one season and start every day for 162 straight days because they didn't have to throw the ball very hard. It was essentially it was dark. They changed that, guys. There was a guy who was hitting ahead. It was a baseball player who was hitting ahead during that time period because the ball was so dirty he could not see it coming to home plate, and it hit him in the head, and he later died that night. And so the owners of Major League Baseball hired a commissioner, and the commissioner said, listen, first thing you guys got to do is we're going to have new balls, and you're going to have to break down and spend some money on balls because we're going to have white balls in the game. There was no black players allowed at that time, but you know what I mean.
Well, do you want to hear the rest of this? Because this is where the social media, I have some good quotes here. At least I think they are.
Yeah.
So here we go.
All right.
The shortstop, referring to Honus Wagner, who had that really, really awful series. The shortstop was deeply distraught by his performance. The following spring, Wagner, who in 1903 led the league in batting average, refused to send his portrait to a Hall of Fame for batting champions. Quote, "I was too bum last year," he wrote. "I was a joke in that Boston-Pittsburgh series. What does it profit a man to hammer along and make a few hits when they are not needed, only to fall down when it comes to a pinch? I would be ashamed to have my picture up now." Due to overflow crowds at the Exposition Park games in Allegheny City, if a batted ball rolled under a rope in the outfield that held spectators back, a ground rule triple would be scored. There were 17 ground rule triples hit in the 4 games played at that stadium. In the series, Boston came back from a 3-1 deficit, winning the final 4 games to capture the title, just like they did in 2004 against the Yankees. Such a large comeback would not happen again until the Pirates came back to defeat the Washington Senators in 1925, and has happened only 11 times in baseball history.
Interesting.
So can you imagine a guy, a professional athlete, like we talk about the ones that they act like they were just hit by Muhammad Ali's best punch and they're rolling on the ground or on the court, and then you see the replay and they're nothing. It must have been a phantom gremlin or something that hit him, because the player that got the foul
flop.
didn't hit him. And then after the game, can you imagine that player saying, "I was too bum in this game"?
Mm-hmm.
And owning up to it?
There's a few players I would say would do that, but very few. You're right. I mean,
Maybe I'm reading too much
There's a
into
few
it,
that
Tony.
didn't do. There was a few that didn't do a dance when they got in the end zone. There was a few that didn't spike the ball. They handed it to the official.
Walter Payton.
Marcus Allen.
Yep. Handed the ball to the ref and went to the sideline.
Act like you've been there.
Yep.
Act like you've been there.
That's your pal Elmo Wright, Tony Finn.
Elmo Wright, that was the first one to ever do that dance, and it was a bad dance. I don't care what you say, it was a bad dance.
It wasn't too bad.
I thought it
didn't help.
What?
Maybe the name didn't help. Elmo is, from
Elmo Wright.
Sesame
Elmo
Street.
Wright. Elmo Wright.
He was a hell of a punt returner.
And a receiver too.
Yeah.
He was a kind of an X factor, like a
Deion Sanders.
No, who was the other? Who was the kid that played for Vermeil? Had him as his special teams, as his punt returner.
Dick Vermeil.
Westbrook.
Not Westbrook. One for the Chiefs. I can't say his name. He returned like 5 punts, 6 punts.
Dante
in one
Hall.
season. Dante Hall. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the punt returns that won a game for him, I watched film of that about. They had it. I found it on the internet, right? And I don't know where I found it, how I found it, but I found it, and I watched it. And I'm telling you, Kansas City must have had 5 blocks in the back on that punt return. Not one of them called. Not one of them. And because Dante caught it like at the 1 yard line. So first off, they didn't expect him to catch it. They expected, and amazing stuff though. Dick Vermeil was an interesting character, and those of you in Philly should revere Dick Vermeil. In truth, he kind of kept your football owner out of harm's way for a long time. Actually paid for his apartment later in his years because he had gone broke.
Gambling losses in Atlantic City.
Yep, exactly right. And who stepped up? And he had no money. His family no. Dick Vermeil rented an apartment. Said, "I got you." Of course, I think Dick had quite a bit of money at that point in time in his career too.
That was a sad situation. I remember him suing the casinos for the fact that they were getting him too drunk and he didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
They were giving him free drinks.
I would sue myself for admitting such a thing, personally.
All right, so let's do the round the horn. You guys can let me know if you like that history lesson thing, but I couldn't help myself.
I liked it.
I mean, the social media. I mean, you would never. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible you would hear, that kind of talk, but the guy was put in what was going to be the Hall of Fame, and he did not want to be put in because he felt that he played so poorly that it offset that whole season where he led the league in batting.
Well, do you know? Before you go to you know who Swade Reisberg is? You know who Happy Flash is? You know Fred McMullen. You know all those names, do you not?
I don't. Do you
Lefty
guys?
Williams.
No. These must have been guys that Tony played with.
Cy Young.
His last lifetime.
I vaguely heard of Cy Young. Yep.
These guys are the guys who played during the dead ball era, from the 1900s to 1920. All the monopoly, what they call the monopoly years, all those times in baseball. Ty Cobb, notorious. Listen, these guys were all self-proclaimed game fixers. They weren't paid. Most of these guys did not get paid. Hell, we'll go back to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my football heroes bartended in the summer because they didn't make enough money playing football. They had second jobs. Well, these guys are notoriously self-proclaimed fixers, where they would fix games, and a large percentage of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. But we can't have Pete Rose in there.
Crazy.
Well, what's interesting in this whole conversation is you say the dead ball era. When they were playing the game, it was not called the dead ball era till later, because then we had a reference point. We have a white ball that goes a lot further. Therefore, this is the dead ball era. Now, when they finish in the 1990s, it wasn't called the steroid era. It was only called the steroid era when they got caught, and Bud Selig kind of, in my humble opinion, turned on them.
I would respectfully disagree.
He could have easily turned on them when it was all happening and said, we got to do more drug testing. There's no reason the ball should fly 550 feet.
Financially. Baseball's in trouble financially.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. But then don't crucify them. Don't crucify the guys that got your sport back to where it is.
Well, then who was going to be that's what they call a sacrificial lamb. Someone has to be that sacrificial lamb.
Oh, there's a bunch of them.
But there's a bunch of them. That's the problem, right?
Yeah. Hey, guess what? They did call dead ball. They're calling it dead ball. When I was in 1968, that was really the last dead ball era, the true dead ball era. That's when Bob Gibson, when they had to lower them out because of what Bob Gibson was doing. That's some shit, by the way. A 1.19, whatever it was, ERA was. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an elite pitcher. That era was dead ball, was a dead ball era. They made some changes. But here's the deal. In the steroid era you mentioned, we knew they were juicing. I mean, really? McGuire, Sosa had never hit, I think, more than 35 or 36, and he's got 70,000 home runs one year.
Well, Luis Gonzalez was the biggest one, Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
He hit
was.
18 was his high, and then he hit 58 that year with Sosa McGuire, and then never came close to that number ever again.
No. And
Brady
Anderson went from like 9 to 50. Who? Brady Anderson for the Orioles.
Oh,
exactly.
Another one.
Leading off, yeah. Ricky Henderson was pissed about that, by the way.
And I remember David Bell, Rob, you would remember this. David Bell, third baseman for the Phillies, veteran. And I get the whole thing that you take the steroids because you have the young guys coming up. You want to keep your job. You got to make the money for the family, whatever. I mean, David Bell was a good player, but he was not, making the money at the high end at that time. So he actually did a drug test where he had so much estrogen in his system, that's what they used to counteract the steroid presence, that he would have been a pregnant woman. And Manny Ramirez turned that trick also, by the way.
Yeah.
But remember, and I'm pointing my finger at you right now, Barry Bonds never tested positive.
Guess what? There was lots of guys. Clemens never tested
Clemens,
positive.
I was going to say Clemens is a guy too that's never tested.
And you misheard me or misspoke me or something.
No, misremembered.
Yeah, misremembered. Yeah, you misremembered. And then, of course, there was a famous Baltimore first baseman who I have never used steroids.
I think that's John's favorite.
Yeah, Raphael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I love it. Just love it.
He didn't need it.
I don't need that stuff.
It's you guys know what I like. I like doing.
We don't tell anybody though, Joe. No,
I was watching that live.
We won't share. We won't share what you like.
And Raphael's going like this, right? I have never ever taken performance-enhancing drugs. And Don, you're the only one that hasn't heard this 50 times. This is your first time. The rest of them have heard it 49 previously. And I actually thought to myself, wait a minute, where did I see this before? This is like deja vu. And it was one of our presidents of the United States who was in a little bit of a scandal, and he said, I have never with that woman in my life.
That, he wasn't necessarily lying with that. That's subjective. What did he say? Never had sexual relations. Is that what he said?
Yeah, was my mic going in now or something?
No, I didn't hear that part. I just heard you saying, I
have not.
I have to. Hillary's my wife. I have to. Hillary's my wife. Something like that.
All right, let's do final thoughts, and I'm going to start tonight, and then I'll close out the show. We'll go myself, Mr. Finn, then Mr. Buster, and then Mr. Vino. 1 to 3 minutes max, and I'm going to kick with these player props because I do believe I was 2-1 last night, and that makes me 8-2 since I started doing these player props on this show. So you guys are making me pretty good at this. It's certainly not skill. But in terms of points tonight, I'll tell you who I like. I like Clint Capella over 12.5 minus 107. And then that would be a miss. It's the lowest line in the history of Ben Simmons' career for a triple-double. And Tony Finn, if you tell me I'm nuts, thank you. But please do not criticize Ben Simmons anymore. I get upset, and then I tell my therapist about it, and it costs me money because the insurance doesn't cover it.
You just continue to give me reasons to complain about him and dog him. If you keep saying, if you just said I don't care about it, go ahead and say it, Tony. Then I won't.
I have bet him 4 times this year to win a triple-double or earn a triple-double, and I am 4-0.
There you go.
The last time I did it,
Rubber
was,
biscuit?
The Game 5 of the Wizards.
Huh?
Because
I
won't
argue.
It was so ugly.
I won't argue with it, but I just want an odds maker to put. I want to know what the odds are of Simmons triple double and then a quad double where he makes 10 free throws too.
That's what are the odds? I told Steve Merrill today on the Bitcoin show that you wanted a triple double and it had to include free throw attempts, or no, free throw made.
Right. Oh yeah. We know you can get. We know.
All right. So just for fun, what do you think? Have you seen the lines? I don't think you would ever look at Ben Simmons triple double, but what do you think is the lowest line of his career? And by the way, he ranks 11th in NBA history in triple double.
What is the lowest odds for him to get a triple double?
Yeah.
Well, if he was playing,
this is it. It's usually like 6, 7, 1.
Then I'm going to guess it's plus 500 probably. Plus 400, 500.
Plus 400.
Okay.
And that is one of my picks.
There you go.
And then my last pick is points, rebounds, and assists. And Seth Curry over 19.5 minus 111. Those are my 3.
Should I be writing these down, John, or what?
You have a
only if they go 3-0, Buster. Only if they go 3-0.
Delete them if they lose. We'll delete them.
I just take it right out of the video.
I like it. Listen, I told you I played Seth Curry over 2.5 3-pointers tonight. So
That actually
I like that
that sounds like a good bet. And I like Tony's. When Tony was on, he was saying something even for the Seth Curry for the his total points. Even I think he had that. So I can see
19,
that too.
19.5. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna add a lean. I'll do 4 because I watched that game 1 and Bogdanovich I think was playing way above his normal self. I mean, he made some shots under serious duress for 3-pointers, and I don't think that's sustainable. So I'm going to bet under 16.5 minus 100 as my 4th bet. So he's
what side are you finding this on? Is this DraftKings or FanDuel?
DraftKings. I'm looking at DraftKings. I
use Penny. I think
I agree.
DraftKings. What I found with DraftKings was that they'd almost piggyback. And I shouldn't say it's not. I don't know this for a fact, but a lot of these sites will piggyback. They'll just like they do on lines, handicaps, totals. But then the juice was typically wherever they thought the money was going to go. They would shade it or fade it about another 20 cents. So you can get a minus 108 or a minus 116 at Penny, whereas it would be minus 160 at some of the other sites. So, but then I'm a fan of Penny anyway. I still think they're, they were they were always the site that I trusted, to get accurate measurement on some sharp money, et cetera.
I'm being serious, Tony and Rob and Don on this, and I know we're kind of running out of time here, but real quick, MGM on my app, I have the ability to actually say make me a line on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And what if I do ask him Ben Simmons triple double, including making 60% or more of his free throws?
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it has to be part of the triple double thing. Just give me the odds on Ben Simmons making 10 free throws in a game. That's astronomical alone.
Oh, he's done it 18 times. But he has to have attempts. He's got to have attempts, right? That would be at least 20 attempts.
Exactly. Well, and look, I'll tell you what, we'll make the odds smaller. I'll tell you what, we'll make the odds even smaller. How's this? That like most of these props, have the must start disclaimer, right? You have a must start disclaimer for most of them. Okay, we'll even put this: Ben Simmons making 10 free throws, and the disclaimer is he must have at least 30 attempts to qualify, and the odds will still be like plus 500.
I told you, Don, you'd like this group. I told you, I guaranteed it. I promised you. It's sometimes it's nonstop laughing.
Well, let's put it this way. I've known Tony for a few years. Actually, if it wasn't for Tony when I first started with Wager Talk, if it wasn't for Tony, I wouldn't even have. I have still no really clue how this business works per se. But
he would be a rich man.
I'd have no clue if Tony didn't help me when I first started in this business like this.
Don Buster would be a rich man if it wasn't for Tony Finn.
And I say it all the time. I'm just a gambler. I'm not like to come, and that's when you've been asking me, John, to come on the shows and that. I'm not the best talker really per se. I know what I say and that, but you said come on and just talk whatever. But stat wise and all that. A lot of my stuff is situational handicapping, right? So
we need someone on the show that can, every once in a while, if he doesn't agree, where they turn around, they moon the audience, and that really is what we're looking for.
Well, I actually didn't right off the bat. I wanted to disagree with the Yankee pick right from the start.
That's okay.
I better shut up right away. I don't.
No.
That's what happens on puck time. Andrew and Carmine say something, and then I have all the things to say opposite them. So it kind of. Maybe I'm just one of those kind of guys. Maybe
Oh, if we all agree, how boring a world it would be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with his professionalism. His first time on the show, you don't want to drill somebody the first time, right? Now he has one under his belt. The next time he comes on, and we expect him to.
No, a statement must be made.
On his mind.
A statement must be made from the onset.
I would never drill anybody. I would just play the devil's advocate. Let's just say that's what I like to do.
Rob Vino has no problem drilling somebody.
I don't drill anybody.
All right, Tony
I
Finn,
get drilled.
do your final thoughts and your best bet in 15 seconds.
See,
No, I'm kidding.
You just drilled me.
2 minutes.
Rob just drilled me because I said that.
Don't
My
you want
pick?
Tony Finn to give his
My
best
pick?
bet?
Yeah, it's your turn. Yeah, best bets and final
My
thoughts.
best, I'll tell you what I like tonight. My best bet. Okay, my best bet tonight is I like Valdez. I like Houston. It's a small price tonight. I like him a lot.
Fromber.
Yeah. I really like him. If you look at his numbers and what he's done since he's returned to the lineup, more than anything, is that I'm not even quite certain. When I made this line before I looked at it, when they came out, I had to kind of do a double take because I really expected this to be. I expected it to be this. Here it is. I understand. Well, sure, I understand that we're still kind of in the aftermath of COVID, and there's still some goofy stuff going on. But the truth is, Perez he's pitched. Perez is a guy that last year at this time, I said on many shows, I said Perez is one pitch from being assigned or option. I mean, he's that inconsistent, and Houston, absolutely right now. If you look from where they were a month ago, they have grinded and ground and pounded and plucked and stole a few signs. And look, they lead the league in hitting efficiency suddenly, right? And in truth, guys, if your team had lost the number of pitchers that this team has lost over the last 5 years, from Cole to Verlander to TGS to the one pitcher they brought in Greinke, and in truth, he went 7-0. And everybody thought Greinke was done, right? Well, I think Greinke was in Game 7. I think he was no hitting for 7 innings until they eventually kind of fell apart there. But the long story short is, look at all the pitchers from Keuchel from Keuchel and Morton to when they finally were starting to, they added the velocity to their four seamers. Everything starts and begins and ends really with this Houston coaching staff that pitchers, the pitching coaches that have turned that they have a new generation down there of really good young pitchers, all kinds of different pitchers, ones who are throwing 60% ground balls to ones that are striking out 10 or 12 per 9 innings. So I will absolutely tell you right now, I have a lot of faith in Houston taking it to the Red Sox tonight at Fenway Park. But I can't hear you guys anymore.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you go. Now I can't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I pulled a ski. I pulled a ski.
Oh.
Ski told me that I should always mute myself when you're talking. So
that's
I saw Ski in the chat room, and I figured I would do it.
He only mutes himself because we can hit the vape and hit it really hard, and it usually shows up. Sound shows up on the damn video.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like closed captioning.
So they're not quite as loud as
Don Buster here, and all his friends call him Buster. By the way, what is your final thoughts and best bet?
I'm actually just going to comment on Tony's play there too. I actually like. But I just want to say how much I like that play myself, especially when Perez got them the last time, right? And Houston loves hitting left-handers. So
yes, they do.
A lot of times when that pitcher gets the best of you, and you are when you excel at that one spot, which Houston does, I agree totally with you, Tony, about Houston. So just I'm just trying to just show everybody that I'm not always going to be the devil's advocate. I will agree with you.
We need somebody.
I love it.
As for my best bet, I'll go to I talked about the Carolina game, so let's go to that Colorado Vegas game. Both teams, people have to remember, and I know you're in Vegas, Tony, but people have to remember that Vegas was probably 4 or 5 minutes away from being down 3-0.
Yeah.
They win that game, and then in turn what happens is Colorado don't show up for game 4. I mean, mentally they checked out of game 4 after losing because you're up 2-1 with 5. I think it was 4 or 5 minutes. Boom, boom, 3-2. You lose game 3.
Yeah.
Now game 4 turns around. You're on the road again. You get into that, and I've been every time I've been to the Vegas for the last 3 years when hockey's been going. I've been to that arena, and that arena is unbelievable to watch a hockey game. It reminds me of the old Montreal Forum days. That was the best place to ever watch a game. But I tell you, Vegas has done a great job to watch a game, and I recommend that to everyone. If you get to Vegas, try to get a hockey ticket because it's fantastic. But in saying all that, I like Colorado tonight. I like Colorado. I don't like the number. So what I will go as my free play, Colorado in the first period. They're going to have to Bedard card those guys out. He called those guys out last game, and they pulled a no-show.
I thought you meant the Rockies.
No. And this is NHL hockey. So Colorado first period, I think it was like minus 135, maybe minus 140. I think they get the jump on them. They have to after what's happened. The coach called them out. Yeah. And I like Grubauer in that too. So Vegas on the road. I think you see this whole series. I said it earlier on Puck Time. I believe this is one of those old classic NHL series where the home teams win and we get to a game 7, and it's going to be some good hockey on there tonight, guys, for sure.
Love the
It'll
pick.
Be fun. That's on my schedule for tonight. I'm not a big hockey fan, but I've enjoyed this series, the Colorado series. In fact, there was a game here in Vegas, guys, where had Vegas won the game in the regular season, there was a pretty good chance they were probably going to catch the President's Cup, and Colorado came in here, they won, and who got the President's Cup?
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah.
That trophy is secondary to these two guys because now they get to actually get to play my Canadians. So they're both. Whoever wins this game, a lot of people will say that they've got a walk right to the Stanley Cup. But my Canadians, even though they don't have the talent and everything, they remind me of the New Jersey Devils back in the day.
They're a team in a row.
Yeah. They're a team. I know
the Canadians. The Canadians will have to beat who if who are they going to play?
Either Vegas or Colorado. That's who they play. It's already known that they play one of those two teams.
So they've changed this whole playoff format. Screwy.
Yes.
I hate that because that would Montreal and Colorado or Vegas would already be the Stanley Cup. It wouldn't be.
No, Tony. The Tampa Bay and Carolina.
But I'm saying they're two different conferences.
Yeah, so it'll be the semifinals. That's how it's going to set up. So Tampa Bay and Carolina play the winner of Boston and the Islanders, right. And then Vegas and Vegas and Colorado play the winner of Montreal. So
this is a goofy system.
They'll play Montreal. Sorry,
it's a very bad system.
It's a goofy system because all the Canadian teams played together, and truthfully, they would have had trouble going against a lot of those teams. You wouldn't have seen Montreal in the round of like the semifinals. For me as a fan,
that was a pretty good matchup. Right? That was a great matchup for them. After they had the upset in round one, they get Winnipeg, and that's a pretty good matchup, I think.
And they dominated that, mind you. They've got a few breaks in the first series. Tavares went out, and mentally that hurts a team, right? Yeah. Next series, Sheffley goes out after that big hit, which he deserved more than 4 games if you ask me. But now I'm a Montreal fan, so I might be putting some of that heart into that, but. He got those 4 games, and guess what? Cost his team the series because that guy's a really good player. And mentally, the mental loss of that, people don't think of that. It's the mental loss of having your best player not being there anymore. Now it's not just 1 game that they got to step up. Now they got to step up 4. When Tavares went out, now all those guys in Toronto, they had to step it up. And Tavares is their leader. Those guys are all young guys, and they're going to be great. They could be a very good team, Toronto, if those guys – mature and learn how to play. But I mean, again, it's all about coaching when it comes to the playoffs. And Toronto guys, that Keefe got out coached, and the coaching will decide a big matchup here. And that's another reason with Colorado tonight. Colorado, of course, gets last change. They'll have they'll have the decisions on the matchups. And those things are little things in hockey that people don't think about when they're handicapping. So that's why home ice is very important in the NHL playoffs, along with the crowds. The crowds are going to be awesome. It brings a lot of momentum, especially if you can get up.
All right.
Great stuff, Buster. Great stuff.
Sorry, Rob. I took too much time there.
No, you didn't. That's great stuff, Buster. And then you got saluted there with a comment from the chat room, Buster.
I tell you, my Mexican friends, I get a lot of guys sending me text messages from Mexican Americans, and then even people from Mexico. I can't believe how many guys. I actually went on one of their shows. There's this guy out of I think he's north of Mexico City. He invited me to go on. His father's a whole business that they do. These guys were betting table tennis. The father, they call him Papa's Picks. He was betting. I guess he's really good at betting table tennis. In my old degenerate days,
Fix is in on that table tennis down there in Mexico City.
But no, this is, I guess it's out of Russia or something like that. If I knew any better, if I the old Buster, I would have been betting table tennis during the pandemic when everybody was betting KBO.
Yeah, highlights.
Table tennis is all about the spin rate, Tony.
Well,
it's all about the spin
rate.
I'm
sure there's going to be an investigation very soon then.
So before we get to Rob here, I've been looking for a window to promote Mr. Finn because I rarely, we try not to overhype things. But he does have a 5%er going tonight, MLB big ticket.
I do.
Tuesday's All Access includes that pick. He's on a 7-3, 70% run. Some of his lifetime achievements: number one All Sports Profit Leader lifetime at Wager Talk. Number one All Baseball Profit Leader lifetime at Wager Talk. Number one All Football Profit Leader lifetime at Wager Talk. And the list goes on and on.
The fix has been in for years with me. It's all fixed.
And you know what's fun being the host here is I go from one winner to another winner to Rob Vino, who's back-to-back NBA number one rated handicapper at Wager Talk. And he gets to finish off the show.
You know, Rob, did you see my note on that? When I really stepped up. One time you said something about you and Koken, and I said, I'm sure I've done that, but I'd never checked, But I did. So I thought I'd done it 4 times. I was wrong. It only been 3. So I apologize for misleading you on that.
Yeah,
and it was way back. It was back before they had radio, and computers.
The truth is, he bet on Cy Young several times.
Yeah, I was going to say him and Honus Wagner there, right?
Yep.
Honus,
all right,
I don't
Rob,
know.
Take us home,
that name, Bonus Wagner. I don't. Something about that name. I'm certain he was a pretty tough kid by the time he got out of grade school.
All right, Rob, please take us
home. Come on, Robbie. I got to go.
I'm looking for my credit card to get that 5% play, Tone. Wait a minute.
Oh, don't worry about it. Here. I'll give it to you.
Give me the back end of the admin site. I'll get in there.
There it is.
I'll go to baseball because I have Carlos Rodon. We were talking before about how the Astros hammer lefties. They've been hammering lefties for years. But the White Sox still remain there. Surprisingly enough, the Baltimore Orioles, the number 2 OPS team against left-handed pitching. Maybe a little look at them tonight against Peterson as well. But I took Rodon, minus 110, laid a half a run, first 5 inning. Robbie Ray, guys. I know a lot's written about Robbie Ray and cutting his walks down, but I'm still not sold on Robbie Ray. It's interesting to note with this guy that Toronto plays in that Dunedin bandbox exhibition season park, and his numbers are better on the road than they were at home. Or, excuse me, his numbers were better at home than they were on the road. You would think it would be just the opposite, but it hasn't been for him on the road against this White Sox lineup. I think they get enough over the first 5 innings to at least have a lead here. I think Rodon bounces back from what was a bad start his last time out. Of course, before we play these guys at all, nowadays we're checking spin rates and differences between last year and this year. Carlos Rodon is not a spin rate guy, so I'm not too worried about him falling apart. His last start didn't look good, but I just chalked that up to one bad outing. So give me Carlos Rodon and the White Sox, minus half a run, minus 110, first 5 innings against Toronto. And Robbie Ray, a guy who should actually pitch better on the road than he does at home, but for some reason he doesn't.
Great stuff, guys.
Well done. Yeah.
I appreciate your time. And if you can still hear my Labrador Retriever in the background, he's a master retriever, and it's time to play fetch. This is my normal routine. This show completes, and we play fetch. It's part of my exercise regiment, and it's very intense.
It looks like your exercise is betting the Sixers because, Jesus, they're up to 7-point favorites now. You must keep unloading every 5
Well, we
seconds.
sure know Embiid's playing, don't we?
I guess, there's no secret. Like when one of us is turning our heads away from the video, we're probably betting on our games, right? Is that fair to say?
Just saying, I don't have any dog in the race. Let's just say, or dog in this game. But you know what? Going up to 7 now. If everybody's betting Philly, Atlanta
I'll leave you
plus 7, right?
I think the way I'm going to play it, and these guys know I love doing the in-game because it's part of my Wall Street days. And in this game, now it's 7, I'm not going to bet it pre-flop. And I'm actually going to tell clients that, if you're going to bet it pre-flop, make it about 33% of your normal bet because there's going to be runs. And one of the easiest runs to watch during a game is a 10-point unanswered streak by the Hawks, which I think is more likely to happen than Simmons making 20% of his free throws. So it's very likely that Atlanta will have at least 2 double-digit unanswered runs. And then when that occurs, it usually involves a timeout by the Sixers. It gives you time to get the live in-game bet done, and you'll be able to get them, probably in the low. You might even be able to get them at pick'em the way the game, depending on how the game starts out. And I'd rather put 33%, and the worst case scenario is the Sixers go start to finish and blow them out, and you don't have a chance to bet them. But I think this is going to be back and forth. I don't think this is a game that the Sixers are going to win by 20. Obviously for the fan base, it would be good if they did, because then maybe the media would get off their backs a little bit. But I think it's going to be very hotly contested, and it's not going to be a runaway automatic win for the Sixers. So you will have a chance to get in there closer to pick them than, paying up 7 right now, which I think is a little bit too much. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you guys, and John, thanks for having me on, and appreciate it.
Well, unfortunately, Buster, you're one of our favorite guests now, so you're way up on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, you could come back like every day someday, football season and stuff.
So obviously the other guys decided that they don't want to be on here with you. Is that what's happened?
They don't. They can't handle the heat.
It wasn't because
it's
of
hard,
me.
It's hard to handle the heat in here, brother.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Everybody, good luck with the bets, and good luck tonight, Tony, on that 5%er.
Hey,
am I allowed to talk yet, or do you have something else to say?
Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
All right, for Don Buster, Rob Vino, Tony Finn, and myself, and the Predictive Playbook, Wager Talk, and Sports Memo, may all the wins be yours.
Cheers.